Imagine reaching into your pocket tonight, pulling out a single copper coin, and discovering that the humble cent you almost ignored could be worth more than your monthly paycheck. Sounds dramatic, right? But what if I told you that an ordinary-looking 1979 D Lincoln penny has shocked collectors before and continues to ignite excitement across the United States? Before you dismiss it, let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly examined the pennies in your change jar? What if one of them could help fund your next vacation, wipe out a debt, or even become the seed of generational wealth? Today we are diving deep into the 1979 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, a piece struck at the historic Denver Mint as part of the legendary Lincoln Cent series first introduced in 1909 under President Theodore Roosevelt's vision. This is not just another penny. This is part of the long-running Lincoln design that honors President Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of American resilience and opportunity. And sometimes, hidden among millions of ordinary strikes, there are extraordinary errors that can turn pocket change into serious money. Now, let's set the stage. It is 1979. The United States is adjusting to economic shifts, inflation is a hot topic, and millions of pennies are rolling off the presses at the Denver facility. The 1979 D Lincoln cent features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design created by Frank Gasparo. Billions were minted. Yes, billions. So why would any of them be valuable? That is the question that separates casual spenders from strategic collectors. Here is where excitement builds. While most 1979 D pennies are common, certain error varieties have captured the attention of serious collectors. And in the coin world, errors are not mistakes. They are opportunities. They are the anomalies that create rarity, and rarity drives demand. Have you ever heard of off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, clipped planchets, or wrong planchet errors? These are not just technical terms. They are signals. They are the difference between 1 cent and potentially hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Picture this. A 1979 D penny struck slightly off-center, with part of the design missing but the date still clearly visible. Collectors love visible dates on dramatic off-center coins. Why? Because it proves authenticity while showcasing the minting mishap. The more dramatic the error, the more intense the bidding can become. And here is the psychological trigger. Most people never look closely enough to notice. Let me pause and ask you directly. Do you check the mint mark on your pennies? Do you know that the small d beneath the date indicates it was struck at the Denver Mint? Or do you simply toss them into a jar? What if the jar on your dresser is a silent treasure chest? Now we move into the heart of the story. Act 1 is awareness. You realize the coin exists. You understand that even a common date can hide uncommon value. But awareness alone does not create wealth. Action does. Act 2 is discovery. This is where your curiosity becomes strategy. You begin examining your 1979 D pennies carefully. You look for doubling in the lettering. You inspect the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust." You rotate the coin under a bright light. You check for unusual thickness, strange coloration, or alignment issues. You ask yourself, does this look slightly different from the others? Some 1979 D pennies have surfaced with striking errors that push their value far above face value. High-grade uncirculated examples, especially those graded by respected third-party services like PCGS or NGC, can command strong premiums in the marketplace. Condition matters. A coin that has never been circulated, still glowing with original mint luster, speaks a language collectors understand. It whispers scarcity and preservation, and here comes the emotional twist. What if you have already spent one? What if a rare error slipped through your fingers because you did not know what to look for? That slight sting of fear is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to awaken you. Because from this moment forward, you will never look at a penny the same way again. Let's talk about demand. The Lincoln Cent series is one of the most widely collected coin series in the United States. Generations of Americans have built albums filled with these coins. That means there is a massive base of buyers. When a rare error from a common year appears, it attracts attention precisely because it surprises the market. Surprise creates buzz. Buzz creates bidding wars. Now imagine listing a certified 1979 D-era penny in an auction environment. Collectors from across the country, from Florida to California, watching, calculating, preparing to bid. The timer counts down. 5 seconds. 4. 3. A last-second bid jumps the price. Your heart pounds. That is not fantasy. That is how auction psychology works, but you might be wondering, how do I sell old rare coins in the USA and actually get top dollar? How do I make money from coins instead of being taken advantage of? These are powerful questions. The first step is education. Knowledge protects you. Before selling, you must know what you have. Consider professional grading. A certified coin carries credibility. It builds buyer confidence. And confidence translates into stronger offers. You can sell through reputable coin dealers, major auction houses, or trusted online platforms that specialize in numismatics. But here is the key. Never rush. Urgency in the market does not mean desperation in your decisions. If demand is high, patience becomes your ally. Think about the broader vision. From pocket change to thousands of dollars. From a forgotten jar to a strategic asset. It sounds bold, but every major coin collection began with a single coin. What if this is yours? Let me reset your attention with a quick question. If someone offered you a lottery ticket for 1 cent, would you take it? Because checking your pennies is essentially that. The cost is already paid. The upside is real. The only risk is ignoring the opportunity. Now we enter Act 3. Transformation. You are no longer someone who overlooks coins. You are someone who investigates. You sort your change. You separate 1979 D pennies. You evaluate condition. You research recent auction results. You connect with reputable dealers. You think long-term. The 1979 D Lincoln cent may not be rare in standard form, but exceptional examples and striking errors can command significant premiums depending on condition and rarity. The maximum market value depends entirely on the specific error type and grade. A dramatic, high-grade error authenticated by a top grading service can reach impressive levels in competitive auctions. That is the reality of the marketplace, and here is the deeper connection. This is not only about one coin. It is about a mindset shift. If you learn how to evaluate a 1979 D penny, you can apply the same process to other dates, other denominations, other treasures hiding in plain sight. This is how collectors build wealth. One informed decision at a time. So let me ask you again. How to sell old and rare coins in auction shops. You approach reputable auction houses with documented coins. You compare past sales. You negotiate from a position of strength. How to make money from coins. You buy smart, hold quality, and sell strategically when demand peaks. How to turn pocket change into millions. You start by respecting every coin as a potential asset and building knowledge consistently. There is something empowering about holding a coin that has traveled through decades of American history. The 1979 D Lincoln penny has passed through thousands of hands. Most people saw 1 cent. A few saw opportunity. Which group will you belong to? As we close, remember this. Wealth does not always arrive with flashing lights. Sometimes it hides in copper and zinc, in a small coin you almost overlook. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is awareness followed by action. We're talking about a coin that millions of Americans have handled, yet very few have truly examined closely. The 1986 Lincoln 1 cent penny with no mint mark. A simple copper-colored coin that could be hiding surprising value in plain sight. Before you dismiss it as just another common cent, stay with me. In the world of coin collecting, small details create big money. Tiny differences. Subtle errors. Extraordinary condition. And sometimes, what looks ordinary at first glance turns out to be anything but ordinary. the 1986 Lincoln cent belongs to the long-running Lincoln series that began in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. The obverse of the coin features the iconic portrait designed by Victor David Brenner. You'll see the word Liberty on the left, the date 1986 on the right, and the national motto "In God We Trust" across the top. On the reverse, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial design, used from 1959 through 2008, with 1 cent and United States of America boldly inscribed. Now here's where things get interesting. When we say, no mint mark, many people assume that means something is missing or rare by default. But in 1986, pennies struck at the Philadelphia Mint did not carry a mint mark. So technically, a 1986 penny without a mint mark was produced in Philadelphia. That year, the Philadelphia Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents. Yes, billions. So at first glance, this coin sounds extremely common. And in circulated condition, it is. Most 1986 no mint mark pennies you find in pocket change are worth only face value. Maybe a few cents more if they are bright and uncirculated, but here's the truth that serious collectors understand: condition is everything. In 1986, Lincoln cents were made primarily of copper-plated zinc. That means the coin has a zinc core with a thin outer layer of copper. Because of this composition, these pennies are prone to certain types of wear and damage. The thin copper plating can bubble, peel, or show spotting. High-grade examples without marks are much harder to find than most people realize. So what separates a 1-cent coin from a coin worth serious money? First, let's talk about uncirculated condition. If you find a 1986 no mint mark penny that has never been in circulation, with full original red luster, sharp details, and no contact marks, you may have something special. Collectors look for coins graded MS65, MS66, MS67, and beyond. These grades refer to mint state condition on the Sheldon scale. An MS63 or MS64 coin might be worth a modest premium. But when you move into MS67 red territory, the value jumps significantly. Coins at that level must be nearly flawless under magnification. No distracting nicks. No dullness. Strong strike. Full brilliance, and that's not all. There are also error coins from 1986 that can bring strong prices. For example, off-center strikes. These happen when the blank planchet is not properly aligned in the press. The result is a design that is partially missing, with a blank crescent shape on one side. Depending on how dramatic the off-center strike is and whether the date is visible, collectors may pay substantial premiums. Another type of error to look for is a broad strike. This occurs when the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to expand outward and appear slightly larger and flatter than normal. Broad strikes are collectible and can command higher prices than regular issues. There are also double die varieties to watch for. A double die happens during the hubbing process when the die receives multiple impressions that are slightly misaligned. This creates visible doubling on letters or numbers. On a 1986 penny, check the date and the word Liberty carefully. Use magnification. True double die errors are different from machine doubling, which is common and less valuable. Collectors also examine the coin's color designation. Lincoln cents are categorized as brown, red-brown, or red. A full red coin retains at least 95% of its original mint red color. These are the most desirable in high grades. A dull brown coin, even in decent condition, will not bring the same premium as a blazing red example. Now imagine this scenario: someone inherits a jar of old coins from a relative. They start sorting through them and notice a shiny 1986 penny with no mint mark. It looks almost perfect. Instead of spending it, they send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. The coin comes back graded MS67 red. Suddenly, that 1-cent coin is worth far more than 1 cent. This is the power of knowledge. Most people ignore pennies. They overlook them. But collectors who understand grading, minting errors, and market demand know that hidden value often lies in condition rarity. While billions were minted, very few survive in top condition decades later. Let's also talk about demand. The Lincoln cent series is one of the most widely collected coin series in the United States. From beginners filling folders to advanced registry set competitors, there is consistent demand for high-grade examples of every date. Registry collectors, in particular, compete for the finest known specimens. When population reports show only a small number graded at the highest levels, prices can climb dramatically, and remember, coins from the 1980s are now approaching 40 years old. Many were poorly stored. Zinc cents corrode easily if exposed to moisture. Finding a flawless survivor becomes harder each year. So how do you check your 1986 no mint mark penny properly? Start with lighting. Use a bright, white light. Tilt the coin slowly and look for cartwheel luster, the spinning light effect that indicates original mint surface. Check for scratches, spots, or dull areas. Examine Lincoln's cheek and jawline, as these are high points where marks show first. Inspect the fields, the flat background areas, for contact marks, then examine the reverse. The steps of the Lincoln Memorial should be sharp and defined. Weak strikes can reduce desirability. Strong, crisp detail adds appeal. That if you suspect an error or believe the coin is in exceptional condition, consider professional grading. Authentication protects you from mistakes and gives buyers confidence. Now let's address the big question many of you are thinking. Can a 1986 no mint mark Lincoln penny actually be worth serious money? Yes, under the right circumstances. A typical circulated coin is worth 1 cent. A nice uncirculated red coin might be worth a few dollars. A superb gem in top population condition, certified and registry quality, can bring dramatically higher prices at auction. The coin market rewards rarity within condition. It rewards eye appeal. It rewards preservation. That's why I always encourage you, never assume a coin is worthless just because it looks common. Knowledge transforms ordinary change into potential opportunity. Think about how many 1986 pennies are still sitting in old bank rolls, forgotten drawers, or inherited collections. How many of them have never been carefully inspected? How many might qualify as high-grade examples? If you are serious about selling coins for high value, start training your eye. Learn grading standards. Compare your coins to certified examples online. Study auction results. The more educated you become, the more confident you will feel when deciding whether to sell, hold, or submit a coin for grading. And here's something powerful to remember: wealth in coin collecting rarely comes from guessing. It comes from patience and precision. It comes from looking at what others ignore. The 1986 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent penny represents a perfect example of that principle. On the surface, it's just a penny from the mid-1980s. But in exceptional condition, with pristine red surfaces and flawless strike, it becomes a prize for serious collectors. So tonight, I challenge you. Go to your coin jar. Open that old box of change. Look closely at every 1986 penny with no mint mark. Separate the dull, worn pieces from the bright, sharp examples. Use magnification. Take your time. We're talking about the 1988 Lincoln 1 cent penny with no mint mark, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but under the right conditions, can turn into a life-changing discovery. The 1988 Lincoln cent was struck during a fascinating period in American coinage history. By that time, the United States Mint had already transitioned from solid copper pennies to copper-plated zinc planchets. Rising metal prices forced the change in 1982, and by 1988, every circulating cent was composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. On the surface, nothing about 1988 seems rare. In fact, hundreds of millions of pennies were minted that year. The no mint mark example was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike Denver coins, which carry a small d, Philadelphia cents in 1988 were produced without any mint mark at all. So when you look at the front of the coin and see no letter beneath the date, that simply indicates it came from Philadelphia. But here's where things get interesting: most 1988 no mint mark pennies are only worth face value in circulated condition. Even in brilliant uncirculated condition, they typically sell for a small premium, a few cents, maybe $1 or $2 in high grades. So why are collectors paying extraordinary prices for certain examples? The answer lies in errors and varieties. In 1988, a rare transitional die variety was accidentally created. Some 1988 pennies were struck using a reverse die intended for 1989. This subtle but important difference can be seen in the designer's initials on the reverse side of the coin, the tiny FG for Frank Gasparo, located near the Lincoln Memorial. On the rare variety, the FG initials appear in a different position and style compared to the standard 1988 reverse. To the naked eye, this difference is almost impossible to detect. But under magnification, the spacing and placement become clear. And that tiny difference can mean the difference between a 1-cent coin and a coin worth thousands. Collectors call this the 1988 reverse of 1989 variety. Now imagine this. Millions of 1988 pennies were struck and released into circulation. Most people spent them without a second thought. They passed through cash registers, vending machines, and piggy banks. Decades later, only a small fraction remain in high-grade condition, and an even smaller fraction represent the rare reverse variety. Condition is everything in coin collecting. That if you happen to find a circulated 1988 no-mint mark penny with the rare reverse, it may be worth hundreds of dollars. But if that same coin is in near-perfect mint state condition, professionally graded with sharp details, full red luster, and no major marks, the value climbs dramatically. Grading services such as PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS65 is considered gem uncirculated. MS67 or higher enters elite territory. At those levels, even common coins can bring surprising prices due to condition rarity alone. With the 1988 no-mint mark reverse of 1989 variety, high-grade examples are extremely scarce. Most were handled, spent, and worn down long before collectors realized what to look for. That means pristine survivors are incredibly hard to find today, and that scarcity drives demand. When serious collectors compete for a top-graded example at auction, bidding can escalate quickly. Registry-set collectors, individuals building the finest possible graded coin collections, are often willing to pay significant premiums for the best-known specimens. They're not just buying a penny. They're buying ranking, prestige, and completion of a set that few others can match. This is how an everyday coin transforms into a headline-worthy treasure. Beyond the reverse variety, there are also error coins from 1988 that command strong prices. Off-center strikes, double strikes, broad strikes, and dramatic die breaks can all increase value. A penny struck off-center by 50% while still showing the full date can be worth far more than face value. Major die cracks or cut errors can attract collectors who specialize in mint mistakes, but it's important to understand something crucial: not every unusual mark is an error. Damage from circulation, environmental corrosion, and post-mint alterations do not add value. In fact, they usually reduce it. That's why education and verification matter. If you believe you found something special, comparing it carefully to verified examples or submitting it to a reputable grading service can make all the difference. Let's talk about what to look for. First, check the obverse. Confirm the date reads 1988 and there is no mint mark beneath it. That tells you it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, examine the reverse. Look closely at the Lincoln Memorial design. Focus on the FG initials to the right of the memorial near the base. On the rare reverse of 1989 variety, the initials are positioned farther from the memorial and have a slightly different appearance compared to the standard 1988 reverse. High magnification, at least 5x to 10x, is recommended for proper identification. That if you suspect you have the variety, protect the coin immediately. Do not clean it. Do not polish it. Cleaning can permanently destroy collector value, even if the coin looks shinier afterward. Leave it exactly as you found it, store it in a non-PVC holder and consider professional grading if it appears to be in exceptional condition. Why does all of this matter? Because stories like this are happening across America every single year. People discover rare coins in inherited collections, old bank rolls, estate sales, and forgotten jars. Coins once dismissed as pocket change suddenly become serious assets. The beauty of coin collecting is that it rewards attention and patience. You don't need to be wealthy to start. You simply need knowledge and the willingness to look closely at what others ignore. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln cent proves that even modern coins can hold surprising value. Many collectors assume only 19th century or early 20th century coins are worth big money. But modern varieties and errors have created an entirely new field of opportunity, and remember, rarity comes in two forms: low mintage and low survival in high grade. While the mintage of 1988 Philadelphia cents was enormous, the survival of pristine reverse of 1989 examples is extremely limited. That's what fuels demand in today's collector market. Auction archives show that when premium examples surface, they attract strong attention. Competitive bidding between advanced collectors can drive prices far beyond what most people expect for a penny. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally worth 1 cent. A coin most people would not bend down to pick up from the sidewalk. Yet under the right circumstances, it becomes a prized collectible worth more than many used cars. That possibility is what keeps collectors searching. It's what inspires people to open old rolls of pennies, to inspect change carefully, and to learn the small details that separate common coins from rare treasures. If you're serious about potentially profiting from coins like the 1988 no-mint mark penny, education is your greatest asset. Study die varieties. Learn grading standards. Follow major coin auctions. Understand population reports from grading services to see how many examples exist at each grade level. Knowledge transforms guessing into strategy, and strategy increases your chances of success. Before we close, let's bring this into perspective. Most 1988 no-mint mark pennies are common. You will likely go through hundreds without finding the rare reverse variety. But the fact that it exists, and that examples have sold for astonishing amounts, means the opportunity is real. Some collectors have paid as much as $76,763 for an elite, high-grade specimen of this remarkable variety. That's the power of information. So tonight, before you dismiss that small copper coin as insignificant, take a second look. Examine the details. Use magnification. Compare carefully. Because hidden within ordinary pocket change could be a coin that changes your financial story. I'm talking about the 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America, a coin that looks common at first glance, but under the right conditions can be worth serious money. Let's slow down and really understand what makes this coin so fascinating. In 1991, the United States Mint was producing hundreds of millions of pennies for circulation. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner. This iconic design has been part of American history since 1909. On the reverse in 1991, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design that ran from 1959 through 2008 before being replaced by the Union Shield. Now here's where things get interesting. When we say, no mint mark, on a 1991 Lincoln cent, we are referring to coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that time, Philadelphia pennies typically did not carry a mint mark, unlike Denver coins which display a D and San Francisco coins which show an S. So technically, a 1991 penny without a mint mark isn't an error by itself. It simply means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. But that does not mean it has no value. In fact, under certain conditions and with certain rare varieties or errors, this coin can be worth far more than 1 cent. Let's talk numbers. In 1991, over 5 billion Lincoln cents were struck in Philadelphia alone. That's a massive mintage. Because of that, most circulated examples are only worth face value. If you pull one from your pocket change that shows heavy wear, scratches, and discoloration, it will likely be worth just 1 cent. But condition is everything. If you find a 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln cent in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used in everyday transactions, its value rises immediately. A bright red example with full mint luster can sell for several dollars, sometimes even more if it grades highly through professional grading services, and that's where grading becomes critical. Collectors and investors look closely at the Sheldon grading scale, which ranges from poor 1 all the way to mint state 70. A coin graded MS 65 or higher is considered gem quality. At that level, even common date coins start to gain attention, but here's where the real excitement begins: errors and varieties. The early 1990s were a time when the mint was striking billions of coins quickly to meet demand. When production is high, mistakes can and do happen. These minting errors can transform an ordinary penny into a collectible prize. For example, off-center strikes occur when the blank planchet is not properly aligned during striking. This leaves part of the design missing and creates a dramatic visual effect. Depending on how off-center the coin is and whether the date is still visible, values can jump significantly. Then there are double die errors. A double die happens during the hubbing process when the die itself receives a misaligned impression from the master hub. This results in noticeable doubling on letters or numbers. On a 1991 penny, doubling might appear on Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date Strong. Visible doubling can command impressive prices in the collector market. Another possibility is a broad strike error, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally shapes the edge. This produces a coin that appears slightly larger and lacks the defined rim. Clipped planchets are also collectible. These occur when the metal blank is improperly cut, leaving a curved or straight clip missing from the edge. Each of these errors adds uniqueness, and in coin collecting, uniqueness often equals value. Let's also consider the metal composition. The 1991 Lincoln cent was composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating of 2.5%. That zinc core makes the coin lighter than the pre-1982 solid copper cents. However, this also introduces another issue, zinc corrosion. If the copper plating is damaged, the zinc underneath can bubble or corrode. Collectors avoid heavily corroded examples, so preservation is key. If you believe you have a high-quality 1991 penny, avoid cleaning it. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and drastically reduce value. Now let's talk about the market. Coin values fluctuate depending on demand, condition, rarity, and overall collector interest. The 1990s coins are now old enough that fewer pristine examples remain in original mint state condition. Many were spent, scratched, dropped, or stored improperly. That means true high-grade survivors are becoming harder to find. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC authenticate and encapsulate coins, giving them official grades. Once certified, coins can be sold through auctions, coin dealers, or online marketplaces with greater buyer confidence. If you are searching through rolls of pennies or old coin jars, here's what to look for on a 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln cent: sharp details and Lincoln's hair and beard strong, original red color, no scratches, cleaning marks, or discoloration, any visible doubling on letters or numbers, unusual strike alignment or shape. A magnifying glass or coin loop can help you inspect fine details. Here's something many people overlook. Even though billions were made, the majority were not saved in pristine condition. High-end examples graded MS67 or higher are surprisingly scarce compared to the total mintage, and in the coin world, grade rarity can matter more than date rarity. Imagine millions of coins surviving in worn condition, but only a tiny fraction achieving near-perfect mint state. That imbalance can drive serious premiums at auction. Collectors assembling registry sets compete for the finest known examples. When two determined buyers want the same top-graded coin, bidding wars can happen. That's when ordinary coins turn extraordinary. There have been documented cases of modern Lincoln cents selling for thousands simply because they achieved an exceptionally high grade combined with blazing red color and flawless surfaces. The 1991 no-mint mark penny sits in that interesting category. Common in circulation, but rare at the very top, and that is exactly the type of opportunity smart collectors watch for. So what should you do if you think you have a special one? First, handle it carefully by the edges only. Second, store it in a protective holder. Third, consider professional grading if the coin appears flawless and uncirculated. Do not polish it. Do not attempt to improve its appearance. Natural surfaces are everything in numismatics. Now let's talk about realistic expectations. Most 1991 Philadelphia pennies are worth face value. Some uncirculated pieces might sell for $5 to $20 depending on grade. Error coins can bring significantly more depending on the severity and visual appeal of the mistake, but in extremely rare situations, when a coin combines near-perfect preservation, blazing red luster, strong eye appeal, and top-tier grading, values can reach astonishing heights. This is where patience, knowledge, and a sharp eye pay off. Think about how many pennies pass through your hands in a year. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. Most people never look at them closely. But you now understand that even a common year like 1991 can hide something extraordinary. Coin collecting is not just about age. It's about condition, rarity within grade, and demand. the 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent reminds us that treasure hunting doesn't always require a metal detector or buried chest. Sometimes it's sitting quietly in a jar on your dresser. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple penny, a coin most people ignore, toss into jars, or leave behind in a checkout tray. Now imagine that same tiny copper coin being worth more than a brand new luxury car. It sounds unbelievable, but for a very specific coin, it is absolutely real. Today we're talking about the United States of America 1992 D-Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but under the right conditions, can be worth a life-changing amount of money. This is not hype. This is not fantasy. This is the power of rare coin collecting, mint errors, and knowing exactly what to look for. The 1992 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint. Like all Lincoln pennies minted since 1959, it features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial design, which was used from 1959 through 2008. In 1992, billions of pennies were produced. In fact, the Denver Mint struck over 4 billion Lincoln cents that year. With numbers like that, you would think none of them could possibly be rare, and for the most part, you would be right, but in the world of coin collecting, rarity is not always about low mintage. Sometimes, rarity is about a tiny detail. A microscopic design difference. A small variation that only sharp eyes and experienced collectors notice, and that is exactly what makes the 1992 D penny so fascinating. There is a specific variety known as the close AM reverse. To understand why this matters, you need to look at the word America on the reverse of the coin. On most 1992 pennies, there is a noticeable space between the letters A and M in America. This is called the wide AM design. However, a very small number of 1992 and 1992 D pennies were struck using a reverse die intended for proof coins. On this proof reverse, the A and M in America are much closer together, almost touching. This is the close AM variety, and that tiny difference changes everything. The close AM reverse was not supposed to appear on regular circulation coins in 1992. Yet somehow, a few business strike coins were minted with this proof-style reverse. It was an unintended mint variety, essentially a design mix-up at the US Mint. For years, people spent these coins without noticing. They went through cash registers, piggy banks, vending machines, and bank rolls. Most people never imagined they were holding something extraordinary, but collectors eventually discovered the difference. When specialists began examining 1992 pennies closely, they realized that a handful of coins had the close AM configuration. That discovery ignited excitement across the numismatic community. Why? Because accidental varieties are among the most desirable coins in modern collecting. They combine three powerful ingredients: scarcity, mystery, and demand. The 1992 D close AM penny is considered extremely rare. Only a tiny number have been confirmed. Compared to the billions of normal 1992 D pennies, the close AM version is like finding a needle in a mountain of copper. Hey, now let's talk about condition. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A heavily worn coin with scratches and discoloration will never command the same price as a sharply struck, mint state. Example: professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70. The higher the grade, the better the preservation. Coins graded in mint state 65, 66, 67, or higher are especially valuable when they are rare varieties. For the 1992 D close AM penny, even lower mint state grades can bring substantial money because of the variety's rarity. But when you combine the close AM feature with exceptional condition, the value skyrockets. Collectors are not just buying copper. They are buying history, rarity, and the thrill of owning something that almost no one else has. Think about it. Billions were made. Almost all are worth 1 cent. But a tiny fraction, with one subtle design difference, can be worth thousands, even tens of thousands, of dollars. That's the kind of opportunity that keeps collectors searching through rolls of pennies every single day. Now, if you want to check your own coins, here is what you should do: take a 1992 D penny and look at the reverse under magnification. A simple 10x or 20x loop is enough. Focus on the word America. Look specifically at the A and the M. If there is a noticeable gap between the two letters, you have the common white AM design. If the letters are nearly touching, with little to no visible space, you may have the rare close AM variety, but don't stop there. Examine the FG initials near the base of the Lincoln Memorial. On genuine close AM coins, the placement and spacing of these initials can help confirm authenticity. Counterfeits and altered coins exist, so verification by a professional grading service is critical. Never attempt to clean the coin. Cleaning destroys original surfaces and can dramatically reduce value. Leave it exactly as you found it. If you believe you have a close AM 1992D penny, submit it to a reputable grading company. Authentication is essential before any serious buyer will consider paying premium money. Now let's talk about market demand. Modern variety coins have gained tremendous popularity in recent decades. As traditional rare coins become more expensive, collectors look for modern treasures that are still discoverable in circulation. The 1992D close AM fits perfectly into that category. It's modern enough that examples may still be sitting in old jars or forgotten collections. Yet it's rare enough that confirmed pieces create intense competition when they appear at auction. Auction records have proven that high-grade examples command astonishing prices, and this is where the story becomes truly inspiring, because the maximum recorded market value for a top-condition example of the 1992D close AM Lincoln cent has reached $76,762. Let that sink in. A single penny. 1 cent struck in 1992. Potentially worth $76,762, this is why coin collecting is not just a hobby. For many people between the ages of 30 and 65 who are looking to build wealth, it is a serious opportunity. You don't need millions to start. You don't need insider connections. You need knowledge. You need patience. And you need attention to detail. Start by searching through bank rolls. Ask your local bank for boxes of pennies. Look through inherited coin collections. Check old jars in closets and storage units. Many rare coins are discovered by ordinary people who simply took the time to look. Be systematic. Separate coins by year. Examine key dates. Learn about varieties like double dies, repunched mint marks, and transitional designs. The more you educate yourself, the greater your chances of success. The 1992D close AM penny is proof that valuable treasures can hide in plain sight. It teaches us something powerful. Value is often invisible to those who are not paying attention. Most people see a penny and think 1 cent. Collectors see potential, and sometimes, that potential turns into a windfall. If you are serious about turning coin hunting into a profitable venture, treat it like a business. Document your finds. Invest in proper storage supplies. Use magnification and good lighting. Follow auction results to understand real market trends. Knowledge reduces risk. Education increases confidence, and patience multiplies rewards. The story of the 1992D Lincoln cent reminds us that the U.S. Mint, despite its precision, is not immune to human error. And those rare moments of imperfection create opportunity. Somewhere out there, a 1992D close AM penny is still waiting to be discovered. It might be in circulation. It might be in a forgotten coin album. It might even be in your own home right now. Have you ever looked at a simple pocket change penny and wondered if it could secretly be worth far more than 1 cent? Today, we're diving deep into a modern coin that many people overlook, yet collectors quietly search for every single day, the 1997D Lincoln 1 cent penny from the United States of America. This is not an ancient coin pulled from the 1800s. It's not silver. It's not gold. It's a copper-plated zinc penny that many of you may still have tucked away in jars, drawers, or old piggy banks. But under the right conditions, with the right grade or error, this small coin can command serious attention in the collector market. The 1997D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint, which is represented by the small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. The obverse features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait has appeared on U.S. pennies since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. On the reverse of the 1997 penny, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial design. This design was introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Look closely and you can even see a tiny image of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a detail many people never notice. Now let's talk numbers. In 1997, the Denver Mint produced over 4.2 billion Lincoln cents. That's a massive mintage. At first glance, that might make you think this coin is common and practically worthless beyond face value. And in circulated condition, that's largely true. Most worn 1997 D pennies are worth just 1 cent, but here's where things get interesting. Condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. A 1997 D penny in average circulated condition may be worth only a few cents. But when you start moving into uncirculated territory, coins that were never used in everyday transactions, values begin to climb. Bright red examples with full luster and nowhere are much more desirable. Collectors grade coins on a scale from 1 to 70. The higher the number, the better the condition. A coin graded MS65, which stands for Mint State 65, is considered gem quality. These coins are sharply struck, with strong eye appeal and minimal marks, but when you get into the upper levels, MS67, MS68, or even higher, you enter a rare category. It becomes extremely difficult to find modern pennies preserved in nearly flawless condition. Tiny imperfections, contact marks from minting, or slight dullness in color can reduce a grade significantly. For the 1997 D penny, the real money is found in top population examples. Coins graded at the very highest levels by professional grading services can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on rarity and demand. Now let's discuss errors. This is where things can truly explode in value. Mint errors occur during the production process. They are mistakes made at the mint, and collectors love them because they are unique and unusual. Some 1997 D pennies have been found with off-center strikes, double strikes, die cracks, and other fascinating minting anomalies. One of the most talked about error varieties from the late 1990s is doubling. While the 1997 D is not as famous for dramatic double dies as some earlier years, minor double die varieties and machine doubling have been discovered. A strong double die error can significantly increase the coin's value. Another factor to watch for is broad strikes. This happens when the collar that holds the coin in place during striking fails, causing the coin to spread outward. The result is a wider, thinner penny without a defined rim. Clipped planchets are another exciting possibility. This occurs when the blank metal disc was improperly cut, leaving a curved or straight clip missing from the edge of the coin. Each of these errors can turn an ordinary 1-cent piece into something collectors actively compete for. Composition also matters. The 1997 D Lincoln penny is made of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating. This composition began in 1982, when rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to change the metal content. While the intrinsic metal value is minimal, the collectability lies in condition and rarity. Color plays a major role in value as well. Lincoln cents are categorized as brown, red-brown, or red. Red coins retain most of their original mint luster and copper color. These are the most valuable. Over time, exposure to air and handling turns pennies darker. Fully red examples from 1997 that remain vibrant are highly sought after. Now let's talk about grading services. Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company are two of the most respected third-party grading organizations in the United States. When a coin is authenticated and graded by one of these services, it gains credibility in the market. Buyers feel more confident paying higher prices for certified coins than if you believe you have a high-grade 1997 D penny. Submitting it for grading could unlock significant value. However, grading fees must be considered. It only makes sense for coins that appear nearly flawless under magnification. So how do you know if your penny is special? Start with a magnifying glass. Examine Lincoln's cheek and jawline for contact marks. Look at the fields, the flat surfaces around the design, for scratches or dullness. Check the edges and lettering for sharpness. Inspect the mint mark to ensure it's clean and well-defined. Next, examine the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial should display strong detail in the columns and steps. Weak strikes reduce desirability. If your coin shines with bright original red color, minimal marks, and sharp detail, you might be holding something worth far more than face value. The modern coin market has surprised many collectors over the years. While older coins often dominate headlines, condition rarities among modern issues have quietly achieved impressive auction results. Why? Because saving coins in pristine condition is harder than people think. Billions were made, yes, but most entered circulation immediately. Only a small fraction were carefully preserved. Imagine billions struck, but only a handful surviving at the absolute top grade. That's what creates opportunity. If you're someone between 30 and 65 years old with jars of coins stored away, this is your reminder not to dismiss modern pennies too quickly. The 1997 D Lincoln cent might be sitting unnoticed in your home. The key is patience and knowledge. Don't rush to sell. Research recent auction sales. Compare grading populations. Understand the difference between hype and genuine rarity. Collectors are always searching for the best of the best. A top-grade modern penny can ignite bidding wars when two determined buyers want the finest example known. It's not about age alone. It's about scarcity and condition, and that brings us to the most exciting part. In 1997 D Lincoln 1-cent penny graded at an elite, nearly flawless level has reached an astonishing auction result in the collector market. This wasn't an average coin pulled from circulation. It was a superb, blazing red specimen, preserved in exceptional mint state condition. When the hammer fell, the final recorded sale reached $76,765. But under the right circumstances, this small copper-plated piece of history can turn into a serious payday. The 2006 D Lincoln penny was struck at the famous Denver Mint, officially known as the United States Mint Facility in Denver, Colorado. By 2006, the Lincoln cent had already been circulating for nearly a century, first introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. The obverse still carried Lincoln's iconic profile designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that has become one of the most recognized images in American coinage. On the reverse of the 2006 penny, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial design, a tribute to the Grand Monument in Washington, D.C., known as the Lincoln Memorial. This reverse design was used from 1959 until 2008, making the 2006 issue part of the later Memorial series. Now here's where things start to get interesting. At first glance, the 2006 D penny seems extremely common. The Denver Mint produced over 4 billion of them. That's right, billions. So how can something produced in such massive numbers be worth real money? The answer lies in condition, rarity within rarity, and most importantly, errors. Let's start with condition. Most 2006 D pennies you find in circulation are heavily worn. They've traveled through cash registers, piggy banks, couch cushions, and parking meters. These coins may only be worth face value, 1 cent. But when you find a 2006 D penny in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one graded at the very top of the scale, everything changes. Professional grading companies use a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS 67 or higher is considered superb. But when you enter the ultra-rare territory of MS 68 and beyond, population numbers drop dramatically. In those highest grades, even modern coins become condition rarities. Collectors compete fiercely for the best-known examples. Registry-set collectors, those striving to own the finest graded coins, will pay significant premiums to secure top population pieces, but condition alone isn't the whole story. The real excitement comes from mint errors. And this is where everyday people can strike it big. During the minting process, coins go through several stages: blanking, annealing, striking, and inspection. In high-speed production environments, mistakes happen. And when they do, those mistakes can create some of the most valuable coins in modern circulation. One of the most desirable errors is a double die. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives a misaligned impression during its creation, causing visible doubling in the lettering or design. If you look closely at the date, the word Liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust" on a 2006 D penny, you might spot unusual thickness or shadow-like duplication. Genuine double dies can command strong prices. Another powerful error is an off-center strike. When the blank planchet is not properly aligned during striking, part of the design may be missing. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing the date, the more valuable it becomes. Then there are broad strikes, clipped planchets, and even rare transitional errors involving improper metal composition. Although 2006 pennies were struck in copper-plated zinc, if a coin were mistakenly struck on an incorrect planchet, the weight difference would be noticeable immediately. Those types of wrong planchet errors are extremely scarce and highly desirable, and let's not forget die cracks and cuts, raised lines or blobs of metal caused by damaged dies. While minor die cracks are common and add little value, major retained cuts or dramatic breaks can push a coin into collector demand territory. So how do you know if your 2006 penny is special? First, examine the condition under bright light. Look for strong luster, that cartwheel shine that rotates as you tilt the coin. Check for minimal contact marks on Lincoln's cheek and jaw. High points must remain sharp. Second, use magnification. A simple 10x loop can reveal doubling, cracks, or other irregularities not visible to the naked eye. Third, weigh the coin. A standard 2006 penny should weigh approximately 2.5 grams. Significant deviation could indicate a planchet error. Fourth, consider professional grading. If your coin appears flawless or shows a dramatic mint error, submitting it to a reputable grading service could authenticate and encapsulate it, dramatically increasing buyer confidence and market value. The coin market is driven by supply and demand. While billions were minted, only a microscopic fraction survive in flawless condition. Even fewer exhibit dramatic mint errors combined with top-tier preservation, and here's something many people overlook: modern coins are harder to find in perfect condition than older coins. Why? Because fewer people saved them carefully. Back in the early 1900s, collectors preserved coins from the start. But in 2006, most pennies went straight into circulation without protection. That means true superb gems are far scarcer than you might assume. The psychology of collecting also plays a role. Lincoln cents remain one of the most widely collected series in American numismatics. Generations of Americans have filled penny albums, searched rolls from banks, and inherited jars of change. This ongoing demand fuels competitive bidding whenever an exceptional example surfaces. Auction records tell a powerful story. When a modern coin breaks into elite condition territory, collectors take notice. Online platforms and major auction houses have seen surprisingly aggressive bidding for top population modern cents. Imagine finding one in a roll from your local bank. Imagine checking your old coin jar tonight and spotting a blazing red 2006 penny with razor-sharp detail and zero distractions. This is why coin hunting remains one of the most exciting and accessible treasure hunts in America. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need insider connections. You simply need awareness, patience, and knowledge. Look at every penny differently starting today. Pay attention to the mint mark. The small d below the date confirms it was struck in Denver. Compare multiple examples. Study them. Train your eye to see differences in strike quality and surface preservation. Remember, most coins are ordinary. But the rare few that rise above the rest can change everything. There are documented cases where seemingly modern pocket change stunned the marketplace because collectors underestimated them for years. Then suddenly, one pristine coin surfaces, gets graded at the highest level, and sets a benchmark price, and once a benchmark is set, the entire market adjusts. That if you believe modern coins are worthless, think again. The collecting community understands something powerful: perfection is rare, no matter the year. The 2006 Lincoln penny represents a fascinating intersection of mass production and microscopic rarity. Billions struck. Only a handful nearly flawless. Even fewer with dramatic, certified mint errors, and when condition, rarity, demand, and timing align, extraordinary things happen. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video: search your coin jars. Visit your local bank and request penny rolls. Examine every 2006 coin carefully. Separate the brightest red examples. Inspect for doubling. But what if one of those ordinary-looking coins could quietly be worth far more than 1 cent? What if a modern coin, something you might have received as change at a grocery store just a few years ago, could carry serious value for the right collector? Today we're diving deep into the United States of America 2017 mint mark Lincoln 1 cent penny. At first glance, it looks like just another modern coin. But when you understand the details, the errors, the grading standards, and the collector demand behind it, you'll realize why some examples can command astonishing prices. Let's begin with the basics. The 2017 Lincoln cent was struck to honor one of America's most respected presidents, Abraham Lincoln. His portrait has appeared on the 1-cent coin since 1909, making it one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history. The obverse of the 2017 penny features the familiar profile of Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner over a century ago. The inscriptions include, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty," to the left, and the date 2017 to the right. Just below the date, you'll find a small but powerful letter, D. That tiny mint mark tells you the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. The Denver Mint has produced billions of coins over the years, and in 2017 it struck a massive number of Lincoln cents for circulation. On the reverse, the design introduced in 2010 continues to appear, the Union Shield. This shield represents Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single, unified country. Across the top is, E Pluribus Unum, and across the shield is a banner reading, 1 cent. At the bottom, you'll see, United States of America. Now here's where things get interesting. Most 2017 Lincoln cents are worth exactly 1 cent in circulated condition. You can find them everywhere. But condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. A coin that has never entered circulation, that still holds its original mint luster, sharp details, and flawless surfaces, can be worth significantly more than face value. Collectors classify coins using a grading scale from poor all the way up to mint state 70. Mint state, often abbreviated as MS, refers to coins that were never circulated. Within mint state, the numbers matter tremendously. An MS-60 coin might show noticeable marks and dull luster. An MS-65 will be bright and attractive with fewer imperfections. But when you move into MS-67, MS-68, and beyond, you're entering elite territory. Modern coins like the 2017 penny were struck in huge quantities, but that doesn't mean high-grade examples are common. In fact, it's surprisingly difficult to find coins that are absolutely flawless under magnification. Tiny contact marks from other coins during minting and transport can lower a grade quickly. For a 2017 Lincoln cent to be worth serious money, it typically needs to be in an exceptionally high mint state grade, often certified by a professional grading service. Third-party grading companies authenticate the coin, evaluate its condition, and encapsulate it in a protective holder. This process gives buyers confidence and creates a competitive market for the highest quality examples, but condition isn't the only factor. Errors and varieties can dramatically increase value. Even in modern coin production, mistakes happen. A coin might be struck off-center, meaning the design isn't perfectly aligned. It could have a double die error, where elements of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment in the die creation process. There may be die cracks, cut errors, or other striking anomalies that make the coin unique. Collectors love errors because they tell a story. They represent a moment in the minting process when something went slightly wrong, creating a rarity in a sea of uniform coins. If you happen to find a 2017 penny with a clear and dramatic error, you could be holding something far more valuable than ordinary change. Let's talk about composition as well. The 2017 Lincoln cent is made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. Since 1982, most U.S. pennies have been struck using this copper-plated zinc composition. This means the intrinsic metal value is minimal. The real value lies in condition, rarity, and collector demand. So how do you know if your 2017 penny is special? Start by examining the surfaces under good lighting. Rotate the coin slowly. Look for bright, original mint luster that flows across the surface in a cartwheel effect. Check for scratches, nicks, or dull spots. Pay close attention to Lincoln's cheek and jawline, as well as the fields in front of his face. These are areas where marks often appear. On the reverse, inspect the shield lines. Sharp, crisp details without weakness can help support a higher grade. Also check the rims. A strong, full rim with no flattening is important for top condition. If you believe you have an exceptional example, consider submitting it to a professional grading service. While there are fees involved, a certified high-grade coin can sell for significantly more than a raw, ungraded example. now let's discuss the psychology of the market. Modern high-grade coins attract competitive collectors who want the best of the best. Registry set collectors, in particular, compete to assemble the finest known examples of each date and mint mark. When population reports show that only a small number of coins have achieved a certain high grade, bidding can become intense. Imagine owning one of the finest known 2017 D Lincoln cents in existence. Out of billions struck, only a handful may reach the absolute top tier in certified condition. That exclusivity drives value, and this is where the story becomes truly inspiring for everyday Americans. You don't need to inherit a century-old coin collection to participate in this market. You don't need to buy gold or rare silver dollars at auction. Sometimes, opportunity hides in plain sight. A modern penny, carefully preserved, could become a key date in top condition. Many valuable discoveries have started with someone simply taking the time to look closely at their change. A jar of coins that seemed ordinary suddenly becomes a treasure hunt. The thrill isn't just in the potential profit. It's in the knowledge that you spotted something others overlooked. That if you're serious about finding valuable coins, make it a habit. Check your pocket change. Ask family members if they have old rolls of pennies stored away. Visit local banks and request unopened rolls of cents. Search them carefully, looking for pristine examples or unusual errors. Store promising coins properly. Avoid touching the surfaces with your bare fingers. Hold them by the edges. Use coin flips or protective holders to prevent damage. A single fingerprint can lower a coin's grade and significantly reduce its value. Patience is critical. Not every roll will contain a gem. Not every 2017 D penny will be worth more than face value. But the one that is can make the search worthwhile. The coin market is fueled by knowledge. The more you understand grading, minting processes, and collector demand, the more confident you become in spotting opportunities. Education turns casual searching into strategic hunting. Now let's address the number everyone wants to know. That in ordinary circulated condition, a 2017 D Lincoln cent is worth 1 cent. In typical uncirculated condition, it may sell for a small premium of a few cents to a couple of dollars. But in the highest certified mint state grades, where perfection is nearly impossible to achieve and population numbers are extremely low, values can climb dramatically. There has been an example of a 2017 D Lincoln 1 cent penny, preserved in extraordinary condition and certified at an elite level, that reached a market value of $76,764. Yes. A modern penny. That figure represents what can happen when rarity, condition, and collector competition align perfectly. It doesn't mean every 2017 D penny is worth that amount. But it proves that even in today's world of mass production, true condition rarity can create astonishing results. So the next time you see a penny dated 2017 with a small d under the date, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. Examine the surfaces. Study the details. Ask yourself whether you might be holding something extraordinary.